Cool. Well, Fouad, thank you so much for joining us today on our show. We're really excited to kind of talk to you and your company, the App Growth Network. For those that are listening, Fouad, tell us a little bit about who you are and kind of what's your background.
Thank you very much for inviting App Growth Network and myself. Honored to be here. So again, Fouad Saeidi, founder CEO of App Growth Network. App Growth Network has been around for over 3 years. We're a global app product marketing agency, and my background is digital for over a decade. Worked in small and also enterprises. From small to 10,000 to 15,000 plus enterprise environments. Led the app marketing in Sage Software before launched App Growth Network. And I really like the reason App Growth Network was born was the gap between product and marketing. We deal with like a lot of situations where there is not like a good go-to-market plan for apps that are to be launched. And with that mindset, I think the App Growth Network was born.
So tell me, is your background in marketing, or was it more in like development, or kind of what was your background that kind of led you
Digital
to this?
marketing.
Okay, so it was
Digital.
all in digital marketing.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
It's interesting that that's kind of like where you found like your niche, in the sense that I feel like a big disconnect that we're always even seeing now is from like a product owner side. Like when we're going and working with these new startups, like it's always like, hey, my product's done. How do I market, or how do I get clients? And it's one of those things.
Or they just or they just assume they're going to get 1,000 downloads as soon as the app is done.
No,
That's pretty
million.
common.
They don't say
Yeah,
thousand. A
yeah,
lot
they
of them
say
say million.
millions. Yeah, like
That's the magic word.
yes, exactly right. And it's like basically the all we're trying to do is to help people bridge that gap. And so what I'm kind of curious, Fouad, is when did you really like notice this problem, and what were some of like your initial like kind of like brainstorm ideas when you were just starting on like how to solve that problem? Because I'm guessing you kind of didn't go all in at the beginning, right? Like when did you first notice this as like a big problem?
Well, I started working for mobile apps since 2013. I joined a mobile gaming startup in Vancouver. We're actually a publishing company, bringing games from all over the world and globalizing them, right? So with that, we kind of realized, well, there needs to be a product roadmap. There needs to be a soft launch period. There needs to be a test and learn kind of period. We did some studies, and like Disney puts 80 product out there. Out of 80, 20 of them or 10 of them make it to soft launch, or like two of them become success stories. So think about like that mindset. How
Wow.
many products really super successful, right? And when I joined the enterprise, like I led the app market, we had hundreds of apps for Sage, right? But also like the definitions of like a companion app versus an app that is mobile first for user acquisition purposes. Is there a marketing need at all for it, or how are we gonna? So as we work with different kind of, like we've touched over in my lifetime 250 apps so far, worked on 250 projects, talked to thousands of entrepreneurs, thousands, I'm not kidding, in the past 3 years about, I have the best idea, I want to go to market. There's lots and lots of gaps for sure.
Do you feel like usually people come to you after their app is actually developed, or do they usually come pretty early?
80% of the time they are 2-3 months to the launch. I'm talking, if you're talking about app launches,
Hmm.
which is still not too late. There are a lot of times that I've just launched an app. I've just launched an app. Now, what to do with it?
I'm like
So
super surprised by that statistic.
actually,
Yeah.
maybe, okay, I got to correct it. Maybe it's kind of 50-50. You're actually right. When
Okay.
I'm thinking about it, 50%, the app is kind of a test flight already.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Launching next week, launching next month, which is still late.
Yeah.
Like a
Yep.
week to the launch? Oh, God. Like there are things that, like, we're going to talk about. Bundle ID is a part of ranking factors for Google Play. 90% of developers don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
95% of them, they don't know that. 5 keywords you put to URL to bundle ID that could long term make a big difference for ranking. 2 months to the launch, developers have locked the bundle ID already. And if you go
Mm-hmm.
back to
Yep.
developers, like, I can't change it. I've already locked it. It's a lot of work for me to go and change it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what? Long term, you're not going to be ranking as compared to the guys that have actually like deliberately chose that bundle ID.
Yeah. And in reality, they should have consulted with you before that.
It's just half an hour work.
Yeah.
Half an hour. I mean, half an hour work. But if you just go to Play Store and search for the keyword fitness, you'll see the number one app that is ranking, Leap Fitness, has 4 of those keywords in their bundle ID in the Play Store. And that's even outranking Nike's training club or Under Armour apps or the other fitness apps, because deliberately, I mean, search for women fitness, they have an app for bundle ID that has women fitness in the keyword there, So they have hundreds of like we're talking about millions of downloads in the Play Store globally from some of these apps, right?
Is that a client of you, by the way?
It's not a client of ours, no.
Okay, it's just an example of
It's
one,
an
just because the
example of
keyword. Yep.
little tips like that, that people just miss. Put a survey in some development groups, 99% don't know about this.
Honestly, I
People
didn't
just
even
don't
know
know.
about that. That's like a super interesting thing. And it's something that's 100% overlooked by developers, just because for us technical people, something like, so a bundle ID is just an identifier that like identifies things. And to us,
You
like
put a project name.
it's
Usually, most of the time,
useless.
you project
Yeah,
name,
exactly.
client name,
Yep.
right? Whereas to Google, it's a part of URL, a
Yep.
ranking signal, just like a part of Google algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
So even the developer name is part of Google algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
So if you put whatever fitness Ltd compared to your company, whatever name it is, you're gonna rank differently.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's crazy.
Well, so I'm curious, like, I mean, after dropping something like that, what do you think the few things are that a lot of these new entrepreneurs or tech startups like are, doing wrong? Like, what are they missing? And what are you noticing?
Well, the biggest mistake and misconception is we will figure it out. Let's just go ahead, we'll figure it out. The
Just
ones
go
that
forward and then figure it out later.
Yeah, I just
Ugh.
talked to a gentleman in San Diego who was actually very sharp. It's the kind of entrepreneur that I like to have as a client.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
He was like, we're launching 6 to 8 months from now on the app. Before that, we're going to do a Chrome extension. Before that, we're doing a web product. We're on AppSumo. We have these tools. We're going to have these tracking tools in place. And one of the biggest thing is very, very simple for development. Their events that they want to measure are not documented. We started with the event taxonomy document. So everything that we need to track is cohesively documented in a document. We have examples and samples of that on our website. Again, an hour of work, 2 hours of work. But developers just call this sign up, sign underscore up,
Mm-hmm.
different names for Firebase for different SDKs. And later on, somebody has to spend a lot of time figure out what is the definition of sign up completed or sign up started. This is analytical environment. Everybody thinks that they have the best idea. They're gonna go to raise friends and family and seed and investors, and I've got the best idea. It's gonna be I need 1 million.
Mm-hmm.
The first day on the launch, it's gonna be a big hit. They don't think that Rome was built overnight.
Well, and here's the deal. Rome didn't go, yeah, we'll figure it out.
We'll
Like, we
figure
need a
it
wall
out.
there. Yeah, we'll figure
Yeah.
it out.
Yeah, there's
So
architects just
I really didn't ask kind of in the beginning. Tell us what you guys specialize in, because it sounds really technical. Is kind of the search engine optimization is kind of what you do. But do you guys also do go to market strategies? Like, what services do you provide for people?
So we actually we call it product marketing for apps, right?
Okay.
So what they need is lifecycle marketing, which is retention, analytics, push notification and engagement, obviously like organic app store optimization and paid user acquisition as well. So basically everything that they need, but different stages of app kind of life cycle and journey requires different services, right? When you launch, you're not going to spend a lot of money on Facebook ads on day one. You want to make sure that the bucket is not leaky.
Mm-hmm.
So diagnosis of the leak in the funnel. We need 2,000, 5,000 users to come in. That's just enough to see if actually the users are flowing properly in the product to
Before you want to
develop.
really invest a ton of money, and that's when a
Exactly.
client would come to you to see you're basically fixing all the leaks
All
before
the
we
leaks
really invest.
with
Yeah.
them together. Some of that is UX, some of that is product, some of it is data. Will tell us later.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good 4 to 6 month usually post-launch phase, and pre-launch obviously we got to get it prepared. We could even get apps featured in the app store. It's like we make a deck, we submit it to Apple, make it like a good story about the chance we've got apps featured in the app store, right? So all those things are marketing kind of touches, like the creatives, the screenshots, the promotion videos. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of times developers don't make really fancy like screenshots to just capture it,
Yep.
the text that they put there, the contrast, all that. So we actually craft it really well.
So you're basically making it easier to find and better to look at. So one of the questions I have kind of following that is when clients, because we're an app development agency, so
Sure.
we build mobile apps, and many times people are like, hey, let's start our go to market strategy before our developers even start developing, or we'll be like 90% done and we're like, okay, what's your go to market strategy? And they haven't thought about it. Really, when is the best time for our founders to really start formulating and building that go to market strategy?
To tell you the truth, as they're building it, because who are you building it for? Are you building it for Gen Z or a millennial or older generation? Because then you're choosing even like the font, the UX, the layout of the app,
Mm-hmm.
and also what market are you going to be launching it first? Are you going to launch this in Southeast Asia or are you going to launch it in North America? Who is your audience? So it should be a part of this whole thing. Or not an in-depth go-to-market strategy, at least have some clue about what you're going to be doing with this. 6 months to the launch, for sure, you have to have that go-to-market strategy or planning in place.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
So let's talk about, somebody approaching you, because I think where we can kind of like come in and make a difference, just even as a dev agency, is basically considering the kind of data somebody like your company would need. So let's kind of like talk about that. What are some key metrics you're looking at when you're auditing someone's product?
is this a product that is already live in the App Store with some users?
Let's talk both use cases. And I say both use cases because we both see about a 50-50 split. Some people want to plan before and some people want to do it when they have a product, right?
Yeah. If the product is live in the App Store, retention day 1, retention day 7, retention day 14 and 30, revenue per user, subscription ratio, right? App Store view to download ratio. For example, if people are just viewing your product, they're not downloading it, you have positioning issue,
Mm-hmm.
or your App Store optimization sucks. Your creatives, your screenshots, your video, your description, your metadata is not talking about what the app is about.
Yeah.
You know, so we have quantitative measures, and we've worked with enough products to know for a subscription invoicing app, a healthy number maybe it's around 50% download to first invoice creation. I'm just saying. So where is the role of sign up flow here? Some products skip the sign up to let people create the first invoice or something,
Mm-hmm.
and then later on, as they were about to first send the invoice, they just, let's say, now sign up now, which is smart.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas some companies, they have to have a sign up, so that sign up flow is a bottleneck,
Yeah.
right? So what's the right way to do it? Right, cons and pros in each approach, right?
Yeah.
If the app is not launched yet, obviously there's going to be qualitative measures only, right? So we look at the onboarding. You have tutorials or not? Is it gamified? If it's a meditation app, you got to use it 7 times within the first 7 days to form habits. We talk about habit formation a lot. Does this product have that viral element? Does it have habit formation element? Why would I choose this meditation product over Headspace or Calm or apps that are already like they have a good branding? If you don't, then chances are you might lose to the other two big guys, right?
I feel like I could pause and just listen to that one more time so I could really digest, which our listeners can do, which is great. But like, are you guys working with the client to help? Is that something that you guys do? Is you actually will walk them through like, hey, we're realizing that we're having a drop off or a fall off on your sign up. Have you thought about letting people get into it first? And then is those strategies that you guys will do and walk your client through?
100%. Yeah, we sometimes do mock-ups of screens and possibility of adjusting them. And again, we're part of so many communities, so many Slack channels. Like people actually like drop those notes with each other. That have you done that? Yes, and we'll learn from other people as well, right? For sure.
So I'm kind of getting the feeling that, like from what I'm hearing, it sounds like the two most important screens right now for you in terms of data would probably be like the well, first, just like the data point of how many people are viewing your app and actually downloading it. Second, how many people actually make it through your onboarding, create an account.
Yep.
And then third, how often are people actually converting? And I kind of want to talk about tips and tricks for those three things.
Sure.
But we've kind of already talked about how we can optimize and make like the preview page better when you're downloading an app.
Sure.
And we've kind of
For sure.
talked that, onboarding is important, but what we haven't got
Right.
into in onboarding specifically, is it better to have, kind of like this navigational flow where you walk users through the feature, or is it better to have kind of like a pitch deck, 3 or 4 screens explaining like your value propositions.
I think the first one you mentioned, the actually walking them through.
Mm-hmm.
If you get people to spend another 5 seconds on the product and see things, chances are you actually drop off less,
Mm-hmm.
So for sure. And also, stickiness is really important. We talked about monetization and subscription. People don't pay these days unless they know they're sticky. They used it a little bit. That's why free trials are really important for people, right? A lot of people are smart. They just go try it. They cancel right away in the app store. They know they've got this. They get the full product for 14 days. They've canceled the subscription. There's no cost to them as well, right? A lot of savvy people, they know that they can try products, but that's not bad for us, right? So we've got somebody through like these whole like free trial period. Retention curves always are like this, right? That the slope is a bit sharp and then it flattens out. So some of the goals for a retention marketer is to either shift the retention curve to the right, or basically lowers the how quickly you draw people off, and some of that is again like reminders, notifications, multi-touches, email and push, sometimes SMS. Obviously good products, social elements. Are my friends also playing this? Are my friends also on this product as well? Like how did Candy Crush scale that? And people like spending money, they can see their friends moving up the ladder, right? That was a big factor for them. If my friends are spending money and they've got to level 300, I could spend $1 too. I'm not alone using this. So there's many little things that could be gamification for like products for retention. But yeah, like onboarding is really important, Spencer.
I think it's so interesting that the science that has to go behind, because here's the deal. So many times we're meeting with clients and we're just focusing on building and getting it out. But like, we don't think about when is the best. I mean, we obviously do think about it, but like, when is the best time to push notification to get somebody back on the app? Right. Or how do we buy 5 more seconds? Right. Isn't that like
Right.
super important? Is like
Yeah.
those 5 seconds could make the difference between a successful app and not. Like literally your success could come down to 5 more seconds.
Yeah. And can you get people to opt in for push? So there's strategies around delayed push. So it's not always yes or no. Sometimes tell me later. Some of these advanced tools, SDKs, they have the screen well designed, choice of words. It's not always do you like to be pushed to get a notification, right? Sometimes the message could be like, do you want to be hearing more about, or like, do you want to be educated?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want your life to be enhanced?
Like don't miss a message from your friend kind of concept.
Exactly,
Yep.
stuff like that,
Yeah.
or tell me later maybe. So they actually, some of these SDKs, they preempt that earlier, and tell me later is a good chance for us to actually serve them later on, not right away. Because if they said no, then that's it, we're doomed. We can't send them notification. We can't communicate with them.
It's so interesting because it's kind of like blowing my mind. Austin, I'm sure this isn't blowing your mind because this is all kind of in the same level. But at the same time, I think as a shop and all the clients that we work with, we're so focused on getting a product to market and like trying to get that, like, it's so important. And our big thing is if our clients aren't successful, we're not successful.
No,
And so to be able to put
it's
that
another code. It's another app that is out there in the app store that it's
that
Exactly.
just a
nobody
number.
uses. Yeah,
Right.
like literally if nobody downloads it, nobody cares, and nobody cares about the work that we did, and we're excited about it, right?
Even we are changing. 3 years in business, we want to be working with apps and entrepreneurs that they're going to make it. Because we have apps
Yep.
that are no longer in the app store in terms of failure. The delusion, co-founders had fight. They wasted investors millions, of dollars, and
Ugh.
we want to be working with people that are going to be. So that's why we are actually like this is a new process we're going to follow next quarter at grilling the people that were working with us after a while. At some point it's not no longer about money. It's about your team's morale. Do they want to work
Exactly.
for another meditation app that
Mm-hmm.
is going to not to make it? How many datings and meditation apps do you guys get on it? Like requests you guys get on it, like on a monthly
You
basis?
and I are on the same wavelength because
Yeah.
like there are 2 things that we use to qualify an entrepreneur. And the
Right,
first one is like, how committed are you to this? And like we are looking for
right,
entrepreneurs who are like Will Smith committed. Like you're going
right.
to die before you let your company fail, right? Kind of concept. And obviously that's a
Yeah,
hard thing to ask. And along those lines, we track what KPIs that they're looking for to stay committed on the product, and we're setting
for
milestones,
sure.
everything like that. But basically, outside of that, the number two thing is it's really just those two things: is how committed are you, and how comfortable like are you like really getting in the weeds, because this is a hard process, right? Like,
Mhm.
how good's your team, like how good's your relationship, like we're asking a lot of those questions before we ever begin an engagement. And so
And
we've
it's
kind
not always about money. It's
yeah,
not always about
exactly.
money. I talked to a gentleman
No,
this morning who
100%.
hasn't raised yet, but he knew about advanced analytic tools.
Hmm.
He's educated. Obviously, he comes from the growth marketing background
Hmm.
himself. But it's somebody that I have no doubt he's going to raise 1 million. Definitely would love to
Yep.
work with someone like that. Whereas there are people that they don't know really real basics. They need to educate themselves a little bit about the industry. Tinder of something, Uber of something is no longer cool. It's old news. It's old out.
Or I want to make TikTok but better. Those type
Another
of
TikTok.
people.
I have another social
Yeah.
that is crazy. I got to have the different influencer. We
Uh,
hear that a lot.
So do we. It's actually really interesting. We hear these
Yeah.
on a daily basis, many
And it's
clients,
seasonal.
and we,
It's like
yeah, that's true
like
too.
literally every month we get pitched like the same idea by everybody. Like it's
Yeah.
super seasonal. It's interesting.
It's really kind of funny.
And so we've kind of touched on like the importance of like onboarding and trying to capture that extra, 5 seconds. But I don't feel like we've really defined on, like one or two tactics to like really do that, because you have to add gamification and like socialness like to your app as like a feature. But during the onboarding
Mm.
process, what are some touch points that you're typically looking for to help create like that stickiness, to keep them into the app and to keep them engaged and familiar with the product?
Well, you can actually serve them some social proofs, right? During an onboarding, join 1 million people, for example, that they're already benefiting from this. It could be
Mm,
like that, like you could have, as I said in this example of that invoicing, for example, could you actually get them to create the first invoice during that onboarding process? Walk them through. Here's a button. Put your client's name. Here's another place. Now send. Now to send, you gotta do because he's invested 5 seconds to put client, and he thinks it's an invoicing app, right?
hmm.
That could be your onboarding,
Yep.
right? Why does it have to be a traditional sign up flow?
That's actually a really good perspective and something that I haven't really considered a lot of. It's like, because I mean, you have to think too, it's like there is a lot of friction even getting somebody to download your app. Like I was talking to somebody
Right,
the other day and it's like everybody just hates downloading apps, and it's kind of crazy. And so when somebody downloads, like the first thing that you've got to do is try and help them solve a problem, right? Like
right. And it's a
instant.
commitment.
Yeah.
I know, and I need to download another dating app. I got to spend half an hour, fill out questionnaire, or
Yep.
whatever people have to do, right? So it's a big commitment, really big commitment on another dating app for people,
Yep.
right?
Same thing with any social media. The reason why I
Right,
haven't gotten out of social media, I got to redo all my friends lists. I got to try and find everybody. Like,
Hmm.
right.
why don't I just
You got to
that?
figure
There's
out how to
that's a
use
And
the thing.
challenge.
Every app is built so
Yeah.
differently and they do typically one thing good and the rest is like crap 9 out of 10 times, but at least with social apps. And so
every app, Spencer, every app, Baudry has a goal, an objective. What's an objective of meditation app? Meditation session completed. We call that critical event of the app. A meditation session completed, first meditation session completed is a critical event of the app. A dating app, first match found. Can you bake that in the onboarding flow so that the goal of the product that I can see what I'm getting? And then later on, and then you could complete your profile and all that later. Now you need to maybe sign up at that level even. Can that happen earlier?
yeah, so we've kind of hit on like this onboarding like flow, and I like that. It's like you've got to do what creates like the most amount of value after somebody has downloaded the app.
Yep.
Now, the third thing, which I think there's probably a lot of information around, is how to get somebody to convert.
So one thing about conversion, obviously, a very important topic is what are people motivated by, you know so hierarchy of reward, people are motivated by, I mean, games, they actually did some studies, gems and coins and stuff, yeah, the first thing, but really they're motivated the most thing by belonging, being part of, something, they get like special status. One of the best products out there that could you get like basically award for anything is Duolingo. Duolingo. Have you guys downloaded Duolingo or played around with
No.
Duolingo?
I have
Okay, so it's a
Actually, I
actually.
language.
haven't.
Well, I feel like it's one of the most common like apps like referred to specifically like in this like ASO
In this
category.
topic.
Yeah.
Well, I think about it, Duolingo, you're actually learning a language, right? Which you can learn it with a book. But in reality, this is so gamified. You got to get daily. You can play it for free, but it's gonna take you a long time to actually you're gonna do daily streaks. I was learning Duolingo. I was part of the, I don't know, like elite whatever category. I would miss this when pandemic hit, especially. I was like, wow, I got to do this, right? But on a day, you got habit form. You got to get people hooked, right? And after a while, they see the value, right? They'll get people subscribed. Obviously, annual pricing. If you get people to the door, annual pricing, even like by when you send push notification to people that, hey, subscribe, here's an offer, right? The choice of color to X out sometimes you see like a white X that you can't even see where's the X here. The only option is the subscribe button.
Yeah.
Or in games you're like, it takes you 5 seconds just to find the X. There has to be an X out, right? But you don't find it easily. So a lot of people are like, sure, I'm gonna buy this thing. I'm using this. But again, to get people not to cancel and stay, you gotta have them hooked on the product.
Yeah.
And again, as I said, the example of Duolingo is they're really doing a good job by leagues, by hierarchy. You move up. There's friends. You add people through social, and you can see my friends are kind of gaining points faster than me. How come the other person is like learning faster? If you're a competitive person, committed person especially, you kind of take these things seriously and you kind of start, well, I signed up for this because I wanted to learn the language. Why am I not committing to what I need to do?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think we've kind of like talked about like the checkout screen, but again, it's like, what are some indicators like in the checkout flow that you often find people doing wrong? Is it just not necessarily bringing enough value on the screen? Is it presenting it at the wrong time? When you pull up, a meditation app and it asks you for, payment, why aren't you buying? Kind of question.
Well, first of all, another meditation app, right? People want to try it.
Yep.
They want to get comfortable with. Sometimes it's about even like the tone of voice of the person. Like some they're just so fast, or the language, the accent. I may not be. I mean, sometimes they don't even have like all the content that is needed.
Yeah.
And you kind of compare it. You download Calm. You have like celebrities. You have musicians. You have all sort of different kind of points there, right? And so why would you buy another meditation app
Yep.
unless you feel this is comfortable? I'm comfortable with this. The price point has to obviously be, like reasonable.
Hmm.
They even do dynamic pricing. Some of these apps, like I remember I got an offer for $79. I was comparing Calm versus Headspace. At some point it was 79, and I tried them both. I was in the free trial mode, and I think I canceled both, and then I got a 59.99 somewhere. Like it was like a week after. Somehow the price changed. They
Hmm.
knew that I might, so they have all the intelligence and data. And okay, this one is 59, the other one is 79. I'm gonna buy Calm over Headspace. So it's gonna be in between which one I'm gonna, for example, pick.
I remember when
You
they
know,
released and announced that actual feature with iOS 13. I remember literally like sitting on the couch watching the WWDC video on that. And I remember looking at the Slack channel and all the developers were pissed, but all of the marketers were like, "Heck yeah!" Like
yeah,
because
yeah,
they finally opened up a data point to re-engage somebody and offer dynamic subscriptions. And I mean, it's
dynamic
not
subscriptions. Yeah,
yeah, it's not an easy thing to implement, but is a super powerful like retention or a good way to bring a customer back. And so
it
basically,
is.
basically what I'm hearing is you've got to basically just bring enough value. And so I kind of want to dive in on that specifically with free trials, right? Like what is your preferred or average length? And what is the goal that you're trying to create? Because I think most people, when they offer a free trial, they think, it's as simple as I'm going to unlock this app and they're going to be using it. But I think from a product standpoint, you should have like touch points within that 7-day free trial and be trying to get users to do specific things to build like that retention, that gamification, right?
100%,
So,
100%.
so what's like your preferred length on a free trial?
I think 7 to 14 are preferred. Obviously, you're right. That's enough time. But again, you don't want it 30 days. People
Hmm.
might be evaluating other products.
Yeah.
They might feel like time is running out. I gotta try this out. That's
Hmm.
a sweet kind of spot. Depends on the nature of the product. For something like invoicing, you don't invoice every day.
Yep.
You might, especially who's trying another invoicing app, people that they may not like. I'm fed up with QuickBooks, for example. I'm just saying, because they
Yeah.
have a big market share, for example, in the US,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So if you're trying some another invoicing tool, the chances are that you're fed up, for example, with QuickBooks. But especially people that are trying another product, these are people that they're solopreneurs, micro businesses, for example, that they don't know it's an Excel alternative, for example, that I want to kind of create an invoice on an app, right? Who does that?
Mm-hmm.
People that are younger, tech savvy. So these people do not have a lot of clients, maybe have 3 clients. Do they need to invoice, check that app every day? Or so
Mm-hmm.
if you do it 7 day, it might just expire before they know it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the desired action for a product like that is to obviously education. Some of that is educational, the reminder about like, hey, get paid faster, for example, right? You're getting paid faster by doing this. So using emotional tones, obviously, for notifications, even emojis, we've tested that. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it works well. So those kind of push notifications to send out. The product design itself, right? The daily or weekly rewards to come back, really, really important.
Mm-hmm.
And that also, I mean, for games, you expect somebody to log into the app 10 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
And games are different. For subscription product, meditation once a day is just enough, right? But when are people meditating? That's another important part. Are they doing it AM or PM? 7 a.m., 8 p.m. maybe. This is kind of the time that people are sitting on a couch or they just wake up and that's the first thing they want to do. Are we going to catch them at that moment? The daily reminders, the product natively sometimes you can set like the wake up or sleep time, AM, PM. Sometimes a lot of product don't have those set. They have to have that set. Absolutely, it has to be a must and get people to kind of like visually get them to opt in that reminder daily that I need to be doing this action for the next 7 days.
Fouad, I got a question. How many apps do you download on a monthly basis?
Well, for
You
personal use,
personally. And how many do you delete on a monthly basis?
I don't delete apps anymore. And my girlfriend
So
hates it. And every time she checks my phone, like I can't. I'm like, hon, just the search option. But she's like,
Me and you
I
both.
can't. Yeah,
you're just swiping forever trying to get through
and
all
she's
these
so
apps.
organized. She has only 10 apps, and she just goes and finds everything. But for me, I just search, search option. But I download probably like I think 10 to 20 apps a month. I check like what's new in the app store,
Mm-hmm.
And
what's
and
new,
and
what's
how
my
many of
game.
those are actually your client? I bet you not even a lot of them are your client. I bet it's just you
I
trying
don't
to
know.
learn, right?
Yeah, try to learn. Like our clients, we download everything. Obviously, a lot of them that some people on test flight, we kind of try out their apps, right? We work with about 15 to 20 projects at any given time.
Mm-hmm.
Again, in a year, we probably touch around 50 projects.
So what do you tell our listeners? Like I feel like that could be really useful is have them to go and download a ton of different apps and just see what they like about the onboarding system and not. Isn't that what you're kind of doing? Is like, oh, I like what, Duolingo's doing, or because you downloaded it and you actually went through that process. Do you feel like that's valuable for all founders to be able to go through?
Absolutely. They gotta be like looking at their competitors. Like obviously I'm sure they're doing that. They're doing their competitors, but they're just like some random industry. If you're in health and fitness, for example, if you're in mindfulness, just learn from like the diet apps as well. Some of them do a really good job. Or fitness app, what are they doing good? Like other like education learning. So different ways of like trying different things. A lot of them are that mindset people. I think they are building apps. They're investing money, they exploring different products out there. you know
So one thing that I want to hit on is kind of bring the conversation back around like the analytics piece of it. You mentioned earlier in this conversation like advanced analytics. What does that look like? What tools are you using? What
yeah,
segments are you asking people to create? Which I
yeah,
mean, we hit on 3, but what tools do you typically use to
right.
capture that data?
So we do have partnership with companies like Mixpanel, Amplitude, with the
Oh,
Firebase if you want to people use,
Amplitude. So
right?
you're looking at like more of like the raw data and creating like full custom like segment. Amplitude's not a
Yeah,
small
raw
tool.
data Amplitude can be connected to Tableau or with BI tools.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have the intelligence team that they actually connect that for clients for
So you're
visualization.
really getting in there. Yeah.
we're really getting there. We get access to their Amplitude account. We have, like, for example, an enterprise client that we have access to their Amplitude account. In terms of push notification, obviously, because some of that is intelligence, you got to learn what's going on now, send notifications. So we work with Braze, with Lean Plum. Again, we got partnership with these ones, One
Okay.
Signal. CleverTap, like, there's a lot of different kind of companies that for these purposes. So CRM, lifecycle marketing, like, we look at both.
Got it.
I'm really curious on how updates and changes, like for example, when iOS did the iOS 14 kind of jumped in and changed stuff, how does that change your organization? How do you
Yeah.
pivot? Like
Yeah.
what does that do to your company
Yeah.
moving forward?
So that's a very good question. So, for example, came last year. We worked with December, worked with the holiday app, spending like a really, really healthy 6-figure on advertising. Everything was based on ROAS, return on ad spend.
Yep.
Right. So we could track, we're putting $1 here, we're getting $3 back.
Yep.
So everything that we did on that 6-figure spend was based on ROAS. This year, we can't do the same thing, but there's a lot of good predictive modeling solutions out there. Like, for example, we are Adjust attribution kind of solution partner. Adjust is an attribution tracker, and if you consider AppsFlyer, Adjust, Java, Branch, they're attribution trackers. So we're partnered with Adjust. Really happy about that partnership. They have a product for predictive modeling. Kind of, you get some idea of your advertising, what you're getting, kind of as a result of it. So they and also all of them comply with SCAD network, right? So whenever there's disruption, there's innovation. There are companies out there that they're trying to create
Big point.
coupons. So we work with this influencer network that they generate coupons, give it to influencers. We see who redeemed it, right? We can cherry pick influencers, give them these coupons, and now we've got an influencer kind of attribution model. So it did not hit us as hard because we're not an advertising only agency compared to the ones that are ad networks. So ad networks definitely struggle the most because their ROI is not only based on CPI, it's based on CPE, cost per post download. They get paid when not, because these days cost per download could incentivize that, right? Like, all this like games, you kind of see the community that they get coins and rewards. They're rewarded advertising, but a lot of these ad networks, a lot of advertisers, they're sharper than that. They're looking for post downloads, so CPE. They only pay someone when actually an action happen, a purchase happen. So they can't do that anymore, right? They can't properly attribute that to the ad network. So it didn't hurt us as much because, again, we do full stack, the retention stuff that we're doing, the CRM, lifecycle marketing, app store optimization, a lot of other services that we offer. They are what they are. And actually, with iOS 15, it's going to be really, really great for us that Apple allowed now. If you guys heard about that, the App Store testing pages, so you can actually publish it to up to
Developers were
30.
pissed again about that, by the way. I loved watching.
Where they were, probably they are, because now you have to publish it to so many other pages.
Yep.
For us, we can do split testing, just like how you can do it in the Play Store.
Yep.
So it allows us to test screenshots, test different metadata. So it's a really good thing for us for App Store optimization, which is really important part.
Yeah, product people love it. Engineers not so much.
So kind of on the lines of analytics, and obviously you deal with clients all around the world, which is really kind of unique, but where do you usually test these apps? Do you really try to test and obviously every app's a little bit different, but like, do you try to test overseas before you launch in different countries, or where do you like to test at usually?
For games, I think Philippines is a really good market to try. And that's what even like big companies like EA and Disney, they do that. You try like any country that the English is okay. India, Philippines, sometimes. Why bother to spend a lot of money in US right away? And if you get negative ratings, why do it in the US store? Especially for Apple, the algorithm is different compared to Android. For Apple, every store is treated differently. Android, you're part of the whole thing, right? So if you were to able to just get some, like you got 3-star ratings in Philippines, it's not going to hurt your commercial or financial modeling for like overall compared to your US store rating gets 3-star. Now you got to go fix it up. So you could actually try that with games. With subscription apps, obviously, we're like, let's say, a meditation product. Canada is a real good market. We're here ourselves, right? So we understand the market. Ireland, Canada, Australia. Before you actually soft launch, you want a full launch in the US. We try that sometimes here. So it's our English speaking, the true demographic, the culturalization, unless it's a location-based app. If location-based app, you really have to launch it in that location, right? Like if there's a delivery app.
Oh, and that's a really good transition, because that's where I was gonna go, because a lot of our topic has been around the two hot topics that we see every single day, and that's around social and self-help. Like those are the two most complicated industries to jump into for a lot of reasons. But what about those people who are building like these gig economy apps? What is it like DoorDash or Uber
Mm,
or stuff like that? How are you, like, how is the testing phase different? How is the
yeah,
strategy different? What data points do you typically look at for those companies?
we actually have an ebook about it. It's called the matchmaking ebook. So in our website, so it's about basically anything that to connect the dots, right? That's what it is. You try to spend a small amount of budget, especially with Facebook, because that's where we could target people to granular level
Yeah.
to a radius. To a radius. So let's say you want to launch in California, but you like try, I don't know, La Jolla only. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
And then within X radius, for whatever reason that the business kind of decision is, and then you try to do financial modeling. As if you're, let's say, your restaurant, right,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
delivery. That's what you're talking about. You gotta do some B2B, obviously partnership with those restaurants.
Yep.
That's like sales effort, or somebody has to go, hey, I got these 100 restaurants locked up,
Mm-hmm.
and why you're better than DoorDash or Uber. It's not easy,
Yeah.
right? And I've talked to people like, well, why are you different? Price. I'm like, really? Like, you really think that you could beat Uber when they offer 50% off or 70% off to like
Yeah.
those
Because they
maintenance
have the
plans?
volumes to even sustain
And
that,
they have
and the
data. No,
mm-hmm.
they have data.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't know when I'm getting my next 50% off from Uber, but they know my LTV is like $20,000 of travel. I
Yeah.
don't cook, so they know when
They
to
got
get
you.
you.
They got you dialed,
They
Fouad. They
know.
have you figured out.
They know how to get to you. They know how, exactly. So you think you're gonna be beating those guys based on price? That's your value proposition? No.
Mm-hmm.
You
No.
gotta have either a different supply chain,
Mm-hmm.
or you gotta have some ethnic food. I don't know, something different. You gotta be different. Go to tap into, be the best. For example, Indian food delivery, possibly. There's a market for that. You know, just don't try to be another. I mean, I'm not saying, look, Lyft came as a result of Lyft was another Uber, but
Yep.
how many other people tried to become Lyft? They were venture backed.
Yep.
Who is building that? And I don't know if those are the people that necessarily always come to you and I.
Mm-hmm.
Those are way more sophisticated people. They're the one that are building Lyft. They have like a 5-year business plan, or their
Yep.
in-house development team, or these are
Yep.
people
Hundreds
that
of
they're,
millions in funding.
yeah, they know they're going to building. They be building. The people that build Bumble were the ones that they built Tinder, right? They were
Mm-hmm.
just like same people went, and so the bottom line of this is they got to have something different and do a radius with the money that they make from that radius. Now they go expand the network. They
Mm-hmm.
now contact another 100 apps. Now they go to Laguna Beach, now San Diego area, California,
Mm-hmm.
dominate one state. Now expand that. So, and obviously at some point they'll be getting VCs on their back
Yeah.
because the product is working. The finance model is, they have to show a financial model. We actually do that as a part of service. We do a VC preparation for apps that we actually see they have potential with the funnels. What is their LTV? What is the cost of customer acquisition? How
Mm-hmm.
is the retention? So we prep that. We help them out with analytical modeling for VC preparation.
All right, two analytical guys over here. All right, I'm
Mhm.
going to ask a revenue question, really kind of an important question. Let's say we have a client who, because more than ever, people are like, hey, what is your budget to build this? And they'll say, okay, my total budget is this,
Mm.
right? But as an development agency, we think, okay, great. But again, we're not successful if you're not successful. How much do you think our clients should budget for a go-to-market strategy to launch? And
Yeah.
I think people overlook that cost.
They do. So think about the cost of an install in United States being between $2 to $5 to traffic providers, which is Apple, Facebook, Google, right?
Mm-hmm.
The highest quality traffic is Facebook, because you can actually put the gender, the age, the status, everything that you put on Facebook is used against you for advertising, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the kind of user you want to get for launch phase, the best quality users, because you want to validate the product. you don't want to be cheap there because you think that your product sucks, but actually sometimes the source of traffic, because Google UAC, for example, doesn't allow you to choose source of traffic.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot actually put audience. My bad. So when I'm doing Google UAC, Google advertising from app install campaigns, it's just they figure out the audience based on metadata or based on genre of the app. Whereas Facebook, you can actually target the single moms who have two kids of certain age. You see the difference? So you'll be paying mostly the $3 to $5, and especially when you launch the campaign, you'll be paying $7 to $8 per install till
Mm-hmm.
machine learning kicks in, and now you'll be optimizing it for $3 an install, which takes about 2-3 weeks after
Mm-hmm.
for machine learning to realize that actually I want to be paying. So you'll be paying. Now do the reverse engineer. I said usually for soft launch phase post download, you need 3 to 5,000 installs.
Mm-hmm.
Users, let's say 3 to 5,000 users. How many people from download become users? What's the definition of a user? People don't
Mm-hmm.
know what's the definition of the user. They think a download is a user. That's actually not true. Sometimes only 30% of people who download the app become an actual user of the product. So to get to 3,000 users, we might need 10,000 downloads. Doing the math, $3 to $5 per install, then you need 30, 40, 50,000 dollars just for advertising. I'm not saying that you have to spend it all at one batch. Sometimes you can put the first 10,000 for ads, get 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 downloads here, right? And obviously, who's going to do the work? The agency, build the creatives, build the banners, optimize your app store listing, put the analytics in place.
Mm-hmm.
That's another, like, for a 4 month, let's say 4 month post launch. I know our marketplace, cheapest agencies charge like 15,000. We're charging way more than that.
Mm-hmm.
Some agencies could charge up to $50,000 even. Depends on what services they also want to get. Do they want us to be a full stop? Do everything. So we're talking about $50,000 to $70,000 at least.
You're telling me that I'm not going to get my million. That's going to cost me that much to get that million downloads,
We're not talking about
because
million.
that's what we thought. Yeah,
We're
remember,
not talking
because
about
that's
million. We're
where.
talking about 10,000 downloads right now. We're not talking.
But my app,
I
my
don't.
app's
Talk,
going to
I
get a
don't talk.
million downloads.
I don't talk to those people. No, not anymore.
Good.
Entrepreneurs that have 1 million downloads, we're just going to wish them best of luck.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
There are
See ya.
agencies out there that they'll blast it out for them.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what they'll be getting? And I'm like, why are you blasting an app that you don't know what? You could be a 1-star rating tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Blasting
Yeah, it could
something that
damage your brand.
it could damage your brand. You blast it when you know it's the right time to blast it out. So they
Mm-hmm.
actually their promotion kind of blasting kind of strategy. No, but and that's 57 that 57 that they said was just to get that proof of concept phase.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about like scale or just to go to VC,
Mm-hmm.
to now just say now I need a seed funding of 250 or 300,000 to get to a 50,000 download, 100,000 download, and here's how I'm going to spend it to expand to whatever geos or whatever thing that I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah. So to kind of like tee the ending off, I've got a question for you. And you may want to think about it, but I want you to tell me about a time, or really just tell me about the worst campaign you ran and why it was bad and what you learned from it.
We had a client that they were a job seeking platform. They're connecting job seekers with recruiters,
Mm-hmm.
So the hardest part was we assumed that we could get, and we actually did forecasting for the client. They were actually in California. We sat in boardroom with them. They just said, our goal is 10,000 users.
Mm-hmm.
Easy. We could do it. We need 8,000 job seekers and 2,000 employers.
Oh
Okay.
boy.
Okay, so the job seeker wasn't hard. The
Yeah.
employers, we are like, oh, we'll get them on ads and stuff. Man, and then install would cost us sometimes $50 to $100. So
Mm-hmm.
like this, how are you going to get like an employer to fit an ad to opt into a job seeking platform with an app? So that actually changed our entire economics because we couldn't get enough employers
Mm-hmm.
for recruiters for these job seekers. So the product economic kind of fell apart. They were doing their own B2B sales effort, calling
Yeah.
recruiters, but they
B2B is
said
hard.
it's not fast. It's hard. It wasn't
Ugh.
fast enough. So I think that was a big failure. We learned that. So no longer we're like, if we have similar kind of concept, we'll do the job seeker part of thing.
Yeah.
But the recruiter, you got to do your own. I mean, it's traditional, maybe digital marketing
I
agency,
mean,
white
that's a
paper, I
brand
imagine.
marketing question more than it is like a growth hack like kind of
Yeah,
concept.
it was honestly, I think 2 years ago, we learned from our mistake, and those were like times that we would just say, "Yes, we'll do it. Yes, we'll
Yeah.
do it to get the client." Smaller agency. Now I'm learning. I can't say yes to everyone. I gotta
Mhm.
say no to many people. No, I can't do.
Yep.
Or the terms of the contract. If
Mhm.
they're not, if they just want a 1 month success, I
Mhm.
can't work with them.
Yep.
They gotta
Well, it's
have
nice you're in a position where you can turn those people down as well.
Oh, it's
Like,
have
and
to
that's kind of
be.
where we're at
Yeah.
too.
people
Yeah.
just don't understand like to go to I mean, it's one thing to say that, it takes 5-6 months to build a product, but it's also
Yeah.
like it takes 5 to 6 months to really build and execute on like a marketing. Like you don't when you want SEO, you've got to start 6 months before you want SEO, right? Like
Right.
and people really like don't put that together, especially the ones who are in that B2B space, like the meditations, the socials, the
Yeah.
like that group of people.
So, and Spencer, if people say, I want to try you for a month to see if it works, and if it doesn't, I don't want to work with you,
Yep.
we don't work with them anymore. I mean, we'll give
Yep.
them some hourly audit consulting, whatever,
Yep.
sure. We'll help you out. We don't say just no, like, we don't want to be rude about it, but
Yeah.
you're on your own. I'll help you as much as I can. But if you want me to take over and do it right, you got to give me time and patience and got to work with me. The developer has to be available because we want with ASO a product update every 3 weeks, let's
Yep.
say. The app store listing has to be updated, and it needs a binary change. Are you updating your app frequently? If you're going to update your app every 2 months, how am I going to get results? I'm only going
Yeah.
to only
Where are
have
you going
two
to get your data
updates.
from? Yeah.
You're going to get data from how many iterations am I going to get?
I loved how analytical this conversation was. How can people find you?
Well, I have one of the most unique names on the planet. So all the vowel sounds you can basically. So I'm on LinkedIn, Fouad Saeidi. There's one and only one,
Mhm.
right? So my first name at appgrowthnetwork.com. That's also Fouad at appgrowthnetwork.com is that you can get a hold of me. Appgrowthnetwork.com is our website. So they can go there. It's very easy to get a hold of me. So we'd
I
love to
was
kind of
I
have
was
a
just
chat.
on the website, Fouad, and you guys have a lot of ebooks and stuff that looks like they're free that people can download to
Yeah.
kind of get more information. So for our
Yeah.
listeners, go on and get these free ebooks. We'll probably add those into our show notes.
It'll be awesome.
Um,
Honestly, I think we have two very good ebooks: how to launch an app, the matchmaking ebook, and how to grow an app. Half of what I just described are on those ebooks, and
Sweet.
some actually people take the time to read it. We rather our clients or prospects to be educated, to come to us, to know
Yep.
the value of all. Once they read it, they realize, oh, that's a lot of work.
Yep. Exactly.
so read those ebooks before they reach out to you, is what it
Read
sounds
to
like.
read those ebooks, then you're not going to negotiate with me on like, oh, can you? Because now you know how much work that's going to be involved.
Yep. Seriously.